Since this is my first time back after the accident, I'll just open up for a little Q&A. If you guys don't mind, I won't stay on too long tonight. I still need some rest, but I wanted to give you guys some content tonight. Where is everyone in their process of being a broker? So Kendra, I think you're in the wrong class tonight, Kay.
I just noticed that. Hello, everybody. I'm gonna exit out.
You can listen in if you want in the background. That's fine.
Okay, I'll listen in.
Yeah, tomorrow night is the dispatcher side. But okay. It's fine. Yeah. Let's see. Let me let some more people in. So where's everyone at in their freight broker journey? Who is just starting their brokerage as far as getting their business going, haven't even applied for the operating authority? And excuse my voice a little bit too. I'm kind of still recuperating a little bit. Anyone? Okay, Gilbert, got your hand raised, and then, well, people are raising their hands and then putting it down, but Gilbert?
Yes, how you doing? Glad to see that you are doing better.
Yes, sir, thank you.
I'm new to the class. It's my first night, so I'm just letting you know where I'm at as far as my process. I just applied for my broker authority last week, and I applied and got approved for a surety bond and paid for that and did my UCR.
Okay, so let's take a step back for those who are probably at where you or want to be at where you currently are. So you applied for your operating authority. You went to the fmcsa.dot.gov website and you filled out what's called the OP-1 form. Correct? That's correct?
Yes.
Okay. There was some, I guess, some interference there. You applied for the broker of property except household goods, or you applied for the broker of household goods?
The one except household goods.
Okay, so because there's two types of operating authorities for brokers: broker of property except household goods, and then broker of household goods. If you're going to be dealing with like moving companies and your freight is people's homes, you're moving freight, or you're dealing with trucking companies that's moving freight in and out of people's homes, then you're dealing with household goods, and that's going to require extra insurance coverage and things like that. So I'm assuming you did not select that option. You selected the general broker of property except household goods. So you filled out the OP dash. Okay, you have an echo in your background. I'm not sure where you're located right now, but so you did the broker of property. You see my screen here. Let me enlarge this a little bit. Under section 2 of the OP-1 form, you did the broker of property except household goods. So, and then you fill out the rest of that form, the broker form, the OP-1 form, I'm sorry. You paid the $300, and then you applied for what's called a bond, a surety bond, or a trust fund. Did you receive your MC number, your grant letter yet that has your MC? Did I lose you? I must have lost him. Mr. Gilbert?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm having some connection issues. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yes, sir. So what I was asking, did you...
Okay. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. So you pay the $300. Okay. Is that you that was texting me 919 area code connection issues?
Yes.
Okay. So while we're waiting on Mr. Kilbert Schulers to get connection issues, who else is in the same position as Mr. Kilbert as far as applying for the operating authority as a freight broker in that beginning stage? Anyone else? So am I to assume that everyone else has at least passed that stage, or is everyone else in the process of not even getting their business license up? I just want to know where everyone is in the process. I want to make sure that everyone is okay as far as getting your business license, what to call yourself, things of that nature.
Yeah, I haven't gotten, this is my first day.
Hey, Andrea.
Yes, hi, Mr. Monday.
How are you?
Okay.
Okay, so this is your first day. So you have to come up with a name of your broker. Do you have a name in mind?
So, you know, with the dispatching one that I had, I'm with my son, he has a van. I'm gonna change the name to give it over to him so that I'm gonna be starting over. So I'm thinking about, I'm not sure, maybe you could tell me, it has to be a logistic or just?
Well, it could be logistics or it can have freight brokerage in the name. So what do you plan on just keeping it strictly freight brokering, that business?
That's the part I really, I'm not sure because, so if I know you always mention that if you do logistics, you can do trucking, you know, dispatching and everything else under that, right? I'm not sure.
Right, under the name, if you have it like logistics, right? Logistics encompasses trucking, it encompasses dispatching, it encompasses freight brokerage, because you can have like DBAs under that. Now, but the only caveat that I'm learning myself and to have with that is to keep, for liability purposes, keep the freight brokerage and the trucking side separate as far as entities and stuff like that. Okay. For insurance liability purposes, because if someone were to sue you, then if you have them connected together under the same entity in the form of a DBA, let's say you had Andrea's logistics, and the parent company was the brokerage, and then you had a DBA under that with a trucking side. If someone sued you, they're coming after the entity, and the entity includes everything, right?
Right.
So it's good to try to keep those separate. So if you're going to become what's called an asset-based brokerage, in other words, you're going to have trucks eventually, or a trucking division or a trucking operation separate, then I would keep the entities separate as well. Okay. That'll just to kind of give you a little overview of that. Okay.
Right. Okay. Well, I haven't decided what a name I have to come up with.
Ramsey's Logistics.
That sounds good.
So I'm just throwing some stuff out there. So once you get past the naming convention, and this is for everyone, once you get past the naming convention, then you getting into the actual applying for your what's called an operating authority as a freight broker. So there's two types of operating authorities, according to the FMCSA and the OP1 form on the FMCSA. Right here on my screen, you have the application for a motor property carrier and a broker authority. Those are the two types. Okay. Pamela says she have not started broker authority yet. Business name, EIN, Inc. Incorporation is done. Okay, good, Pamela. Very good. So Pamela, what's the name of yours? Business.
Excuse me. Three Bells Logistics.
Three Bells Logistics.
Yes.
That has, I'm sure that has some kind of significance and some kind of meaning behind it.
Yes. My grandmother and my two aunts, they both, all of them middle name was Bell.
Look at that. So you'll never forget that. You'll never forget that. So, and that's another thing too, when you're naming your company, you know, the name means something, right? It has significance in some way, shape, or form. And it may not even be transportation related, but just like in the case with Pamela's 3Bell Logistics. But it has significance and it means something. And I'm sure she'll never forget that name. So
now
so you
also would like to do brokering and carrier. And so I see that you're saying I would have to set up a different entity.
Yeah, I'm not saying it. It's a suggestion to help you with liability purposes, right? You want to keep those separate.
Okay.
The trucking side. So if you want to create a trucking carrier division, like you want to get your MC, your operating authority as a motor carrier, I would create an entity, an EIN separate than your operation as a freight broker. You know, I would keep them separate. As far as EINs and business names and things like that. Some people prefer to do like create a logistics company and start it out as a brokerage and then do a DBA. Let's say they'll say Charles Logistics, and the main operation is a freight brokerage, and then I'll do a DBA under it, doing business as Charles Transportation or Charles Trucking. But it's all under. If you do a DBA, that means it's under the same employer identification number, the EIN. So what if someone sues you?
Right.
And then there's insurance things, and then you getting insurance quotes for your trucking side is going to be a challenge because the insurance company is going to look at you. Well, you got a freight brokerage and a trucking side. They're going to try to bubble up the prices as far as insurance. So there's a lot of factors as to why it's suggested that you keep them separate. You know, number one is liability, obviously, and then number two is the cost effectiveness of it as far as getting insurance quotes and things like that. So, okay. But at any rate, once you, Mr. Kilbert, do you have, are you good on your communications now, or are you still with us? He may not be with us. I don't see him. Okay. Anyway. So we passed the name and the idea of a name, the significance of a name, what it means, things of that nature. So next we want to apply for the authority. You know, you want to apply for the operating authority as a freight broker. What is a freight broker? Freight broker is a middleman between the customer, the shipper, and the trucking company or the owner operators, you know, the carriers. So we are logistics providers. The legal meaning is we are someone who arranges for the transportation and the movement of the freight, of the cargo, of the load, right? We don't take possession of it, right? Because we're brokers. We are brokering it, right? Just like real estate brokers, just like stock brokers, you don't take possession of anything, but you broker, you're the middleman. So the question becomes, who takes possession of the freight, right? Can anyone answer that question? Who takes possession? If we're the brokers and we don't take possession of the freight, who takes possession of the freight?
The carrier.
The carrier. Who said that?
Robert.
Robert, yes. So the carrier, and that's the reason why. So with freight brokers, you have two customers, right? Your main customer, which is the shipper, which you are procuring the freight from. You're getting the loads from the shipper, and then your carriers or trucking companies, which you are procuring the capacity from or the trucks from. So you're getting the loads, the freight from the shippers, and you're getting the trucks to move those loads from the carriers or the trucking companies or the owner operators, whatever term you want to call it at that time. So you're the middle person in between that, right? You're brokering, in other words, right? That's the literal meaning. You're brokering. So now you have to have contracts in place between your two customers as a freight broker, right? You have to have a contract with your your first customer, which is the shipper, okay? And that's a broker shipper agreement, okay? So I wanted you guys to see my expression on my face when I talk about that. So you got two customers, okay? Broker shipper agreement. That is the agreement between you and the shipper saying, hey, I'm the logistics provider. I'm the person who arranges for the transportation of the freight. I'm the one that's going to be responsible for making sure that your loads, your cargo is picked up on time and delivered to your customer now, which is the receiver. So I'm the broker who's going to be responsible for that and make sure that that's done correctly. And here is the broker shipper contract or broker shipper packet, if you will, to substantiate and verify that, okay? So that's the first customer, right? And then once you get the freight and the loads, now you have to find someone to transport the loads, to move the freight, right? Therein lies your second customer, which is either the trucking companies, the carriers, the owner operators. So now you come over here with what? The broker carrier agreement. So you have two contracts, if you will, two agreements, the broker shipper agreement and the broker carrier agreement. Now this one says, hey, Mr. Truck Driver, now I need to contract with you. I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars to move this freight. And here are the requirements that I need from you. All right. Yes, Josh.
Yeah, Mr. Charles, how's it going today?
How you doing, sir?
Doing very well. Question, say we have a family member, cousin, auntie, uncle, whoever, that wants to be, because we're talking about the agreements. So my question is, do we need a broker or agent agreement for them to use our MC to call the brokers, handle out the rate counts? Could it be like a verbal agreement? I still pay them, or legally, do I have to have a contract, like an agent broker contract agreement?
That's a great question. So So are these people working for you as an agent under your brokerage?
Correct.
Okay. If they're working for you as an agent under your brokerage, then you need to have a broker agent type of contract that lines out the duties and responsibilities of the agent as it relates to the brokerage. They are working under your broker authority, so that yes, they can use your broker MC when they go after the shippers to procure the freight, and they can use your broker MC to get the carriers under your brokerage as approved carriers to move that freight, assuming that that's one of the duties and responsibilities that you have assigned to them, based off of whether or not you feel that they have the experience or they are educated enough to handle that. Otherwise, you'll start them off just sticking them on the phones, doing cold calls, sending out packets, and then when the packets come in, you'll take it from there as a broker and close the deal. So depending on how much responsibility that you want to give them, will determine that possibility. So let me show you in our, I'm glad you asked that question though, in our, because I think I have a copy in our forums area under the tools and resources or materials. I think I got a copy of the broker and the agent. I think I have a copy of that broker agent contract, a template, if you will. So I don't know if you have one or not, Joshua.
Yes, I believe I have a rough draft. I have.
Okay. I could have. What I put in? It's back here. I just gotta find it. But at any rate, that's what you would have, a broker agent agreement. So now it's within the scope of your company. You know what their roles are, and that's based off of if they're coming to you with call center and customer service experience, then you can decide, okay, well, your commission will be 60-40 or 70-30. Of course, 60 go to the agent, or 70 goes to the agent, and the 40 or the 30 goes to the brokerage. You know, that's how that works.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it was just because I was curious because I do have some family members who are interested, but still you still got to separate family and business. I just want to make sure I'm doing everything legal wise, even though I know they're not gonna try to get over on me. I just want to make sure I don't get in trouble with anyone, as far as not having a contract with them and they're still brokering loads, etc. So I just wanted to ask that question.
And that's a very good point that you make, because even if it is family, you want to make sure that family is family and business is business. You want to make sure that you separate the two. Okay. Like honestly, because sometimes those relationships can, sever because of that. Hey, I'm your cousin, or hey, I'm your brother. You shouldn't treat me this way. Well, this is business. I can't sacrifice my business to give you a break, right? As a family member. And sometimes that's tough, right? But if the two parties know that going in, then there shouldn't be any confusion. Now, if that's not disclosed to the person who's a family member that you're going to hire, then that's on you, right? You have to make it known for your company, this is what your role is going to be. And whether you're a family member or not, this is the role. If you agree to that, then we can sign the contract and then we can start working. If you don't agree to that, then we have to decide what else we need to do, right? So, and that's how it should be. That's a balanced way of dealing with employees, because that's what we're getting into. If you're going to hire someone as an employee, then you need to line out what their duties and their responsibilities are, right? So, okay. LaDonna, you got your hand raised.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Charles.
Hey.
Glad you're back.
Thank you. Barely.
So, yeah, I'm glad Josh did ask that question, because I'm in the same boat now that my brokerage is active. Now I just need to create a broker to broker agent contract or an agreement. And I want to know, how can I go about doing that? What's some verbiage I can put in there? What are the duties that I should be expecting from my broker agent?
So I thought I put that in here. It's not in the back office, but I'm gonna put it in here because someone gave me a copy of their template. Let me share this screen.
It is on there, but I can't remember where it is.
It is on here?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just don't remember where I put the thing. But I got it on the screen now. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the broker agent agreement, basically the broker agent agreement. So, and it's lining out the duties and responsibilities, basic verbiage, but you can change up some of the stuff, like how much you're going to charge them based off, not how much you're going to charge them, but how much they are going to earn from their commission. So, but if you want, we can go through this a little bit.
Yes, please.
Okay, so, and this is for Joshua too. I'm sure Joshua will be tickled pink to right? So freight broker sales agent. So this is for you brokerages who are entertaining the idea of hiring agents, whether they're family members or not, under your brokerage. So what does that mean? So if someone comes in as an agent, a freight broker agent under your freight brokerage, that means they're working for you either as a W-2 employee or as a 1099 independent contractor. That's another point. How are you going to structure the employment, right? Are you going to make them an employee under your brokerage? It is wise to make them a 1099 independent contractor. That way they do their own taxes and you don't have that extra expense to take on. Just throwing that out there, okay? So 1099 over W-2, okay? Yes, LaDonna.
So if I make them a 1099, that means they have to have their own business created?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I need to ask my CPA about that. I should call him, but I don't think that's.
So, can I say something, Mr. Charles? So I have with my dispatching LLC, my son has a DBA under my LLC because I'm the owner of that. And I went to the CPA, you know, to get my taxes done. And she told me that I needed a 1099 for my son because he was a, you know, I don't know what she called it, but she said he needed the W-2 and I needed to give him a 1099.
So so he was structured under your company.
Yeah, as a DBA. So right. He has yeah.
So this is a case where people are not structured under the company's DBA. They're coming in as either an employee of the company or as an independent contractor.
Oh, well, wouldn't he be? Okay, so he wouldn't be an employee though, because I dispatch him.
Right.
No.
So he's an independent contractor.
Okay.
Right.
I'm trying to get it. Okay.
Right. In any case, here is the freight broker agent contract or agreement. So if you're entertaining guys, bringing on agents under your brokerage. Now, the one caveat I would caution you with is to vet out the people that you're going to bring under, because this is your brokerage that you're talking about, right? I don't want to say it like this is your brokerage just online, but they are representing your brokerage, in other words. So either you're going to bring them in as people who don't know as much and then train them in the ways and workflows of your company, or vet people out who have experience either from other brokerages or have customer service, call center experience, things like that, which makes your job a little bit easier, letting them know what their duties and responsibilities are. Okay. So, this is the example of the freight broker contract. I don't want to read through the whole thing. We'll be here all night reading through this, but it just talks about the duties, the payments, and things like that. Your commission structure usually is about, the standard is 60-40. It used to be 50-50 if someone comes in with no experience and you have to train them on your TMS system, train them on your load boards, train them on how to move a load. If you're training them and giving them that much responsibility and they become good at it, then you want to, after, let's say 90 days, you want to reevaluate them for maybe a commission raise kind of thing, like from 50-50 to 60-40, 60-40, 70-30, or what have you. So, LaDonna, you have a hand raised.
Yes. What are some of the duties, just as an example? I know you have them in here.
Okay, so the main duties that you would have, the number one duty of an agent is to be able to call and procure customers, to get customers. Cold calls. Cold calls is one of the main things, but another way is to emails, visiting the facility. So if you got a brokerage that's in a location where there's an industrial park near you, then you can that agent can look up shippers in that area and send out email blasts, maybe call and set up appointments to visit the shippers, the customers representing your brokerage. Maybe bring copies of the broker shipper packet with them when they talk to the shippers, and then mainly cold calling on the phone, talking to them, procuring the freight, or at least getting the shipper to say, "Hey, send me your packet," right? So that's number one. Number two is, if they have some level of office, customer service, call center experience, or they even have some experience in moving a load. They worked for another broker, they just didn't like the relationship, so they left, and you happen to discover them on LinkedIn, or you did some kind of job board posting and they called you, then you train them on your TMS system, right? Your transportation management software, because you want them to be able to organize and keep track of all your customers, all the carriers that you have onboarded to your brokerage, the loads that you have moved, and the loads that you're going to move, building loads in the TMS systems, for example. Train them or get them to understand how to use a load board from a broker's perspective, either looking for either posting your shipper's loads on your load board or searching for trucks in the area of where your shipper's freight is going to pick up within 50 to 100 mile radius. So you want to search for carriers near your shipper's location. So things like that. Those are some of the basics. How do you get customers? Very good question. So you get customers by, well, let's answer that question by asking Mr. Donald. Donald, you're unmuted. Mr. Donald, how do you get customers, Mr. Donald?
Make a lot of phone calls.
Make a lot of phone calls. Is there other ways like LinkedIn, social media?
LinkedIn, you can go on LinkedIn. You can look for manufacturers in the just look for the what's a good one to go for? Transportation managers or even logistics managers. Find the name, find the companies, and you can source out that way. You can send them a message. You can call the company, ask to speak to that person. That's the LinkedIn way I would recommend. You can go on Google, use Google Maps. You can search out industrial areas, look for businesses, and do a little research, go in and approach them and see if you can move their freight. Talk to truck drivers. Truck drivers will tell you who they're dropping off at. You have lots of ways to find customers. It's all about just going ahead and approaching them and not being afraid to speak to them. Be honest, be humble. Let them know that you're a new broker. You're trying to make your business grow. You speak to people because it's at the end of the day, it's people speaking to people. It's not as bad as everyone thinks it is. It really isn't.
So, Mr. Donald, how many shippers do you have today?
Well, I have 6 on paper. I actually just parted ways with 1, so let's go back down to 5. Active, truly active, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 actually sending me active loads, and I'm still waiting for a farm to come online with. I spoke to them today, so it's enough to keep me busy. It's just that I can't move the freight they have because we're not at the same place where we should be with pricing. So I'll be looking to expand again.
Have you moved a load through your brokerage yet?
Yes, I have. I have moved a load, right.
Right. And you just started your brokerage actively, back in January?
I started active. It went active in October. I actually started working the brokerage probably the 2nd or the 3rd week of January.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Someone just asked a question here. I want to leave you on, Mr. Donald. They said every time I call a shipper, they say they do their own shipping in-house. What should I say?
You can ask them if there's any issues they have with overflow. There's always going to be a need. That's just a general cop-out for them. Don't let them chase you away with that. They'll do that because they're lazy. Actually, who they're shipping with. Okay, if you don't mind me probing, who are you actually shipping with? What are you actually shipping? Maybe there's some room for us to come on board and help with your more challenging lanes. You don't give up. That's just a cop-out for them.
Exactly. Letitia. Thank you, Mr. Donald.
No problem at all.
Good evening. I wanted to ask, is he seeing any changes with the rates that the shippers are offering with the rise of gas prices?
You're saying he being Mr. Donald?
Yes, or is anybody seeing like a change in, are they offering more money, or are they still kind of fighting with the brokers and the carriers?
I'll jump in. I actually had a meeting with one of my shippers yesterday. They're aware that the prices are changing. They're aware, and it's very obvious to them when they start seeing their loads sit dormant. No one's moving them. They know that there's a problem. So it's all going back into how much their freight spend budget calls for. They understand, and what's happening with a lot of the shippers. I was actually, as I'm on here right now, I'm actually looking at a historical on one of my shippers going back 1 month to see what the rates are changing. They've gone up quite a bit within the period of 1 month just to compensate for the changes in the fuel. The problem with a lot of shippers right now is that they have quarterly budgets and they're trying not to adjust too much. So it's hit or miss. It's hit or miss, but they are definitely adjusting because at the end of the day, they have to move the freight they have.
That is correct.
Thank you.
So, and then by the way, too, so the agent the freight broker agent template is in the menu. It's under the broker versus broker agent section on the menu where it's under get started, where it says broker versus agent. That's where it's at. So if you click that, it's right here in Word and PDF format. So the reason why it's in Word, so you guys can go ahead and edit it for your specific brokerage. If you are entertaining, bringing on agents. Okay, so, hey, Bishop, Mr. Johnson, how you doing? So we got a bishop on here, so we need some extra prayer. Just open it up.
Yeah, I'm your man.
So here is the broker agent. I knew it was, I don't know what I was thinking, but so to answer Miss Ramsey's question, where do you get customers? So Miss Ramsey, let's do this. Let's find you a customer. Where are you located? What major city? What major metropolitan area?
In the Northeast New York.
Okay. Before I do that, let's answer Letitia's question. Mr. Donna, if you don't mind, what does issues with overflow mean? Does that mean freight not getting out in a timely manner? Yeah. Or overflow, yeah, too much freight and not enough trucks to move that freight.
Yeah, when they have tight capacity, they're gonna have overflow issues where they have freight that's sitting that they haven't moved in a while. So you might want to try to help with those particular items. So that would be a good example of overflow.
Right. In other words, overflow means there's a truck capacity issue. So that's leverage for the broker to kind of negotiate the rate. Plus the fact that the rate, the fuel prices are astronomical at this point. I got an SUV and I put $75 of fuel in to fill my SUV up. I'm like, oh my goodness. So that's what that means. What are some of the shippers' prices? So the shippers will give you they'll ask you to do what's called a rate quote or a lane bid, or they will give you a target rate and ask you, can you work with that? When they say, can you work with that? What that means is, can you move it at that price, meaning that you're going to pay the carrier a decent amount of that money and still make your margin, your whatever percentage of it. So for example, $5,000, right? Shipper gives you a target rate, $5,000 is non-negotiable. Can you make it work? All right. Before they do that, they've already given you what the lane was, what the commodity was, how much weight was it, things of that nature, number of stops, any accessorials, all that stuff. They gave you that, and they gave you that target rate. They'll say, well, can this work? The first thing you want to do is make sure what does the carrier expect from that lane based off of all of those requirements that we just had listed, right? And if you can pay your carrier a fair amount that they'll accept to pick that load up and you still make your whatever margin you want, because remember, it's non-negotiable. Target rates are usually non-negotiable. These days, they can be negotiable because of the fuel prices. That's kind of helping. The fuel prices being what they are, they're kind of helping because the shippers' customers, who are the receivers' facilities, the distribution centers or wherever they're shipping them to, they're like, wait a minute, you guys are taking all day to deliver our freight. What's going on? So that's forcing the shipper's hands, which is, as a broker, if you know this, you can leverage that knowledge, right? So in order to negotiate higher rates, but typically in a non-fuel high type of situation, target rates are usually non-negotiable, okay? But the other ones are the lane bids and the rate quotes, where they ask you to quote a lane. They're testing you, first of all, to see if you know about what you know, so. But Ms. Ramsey, you said you were in the Northeast?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go to one of our resources in our members portal for us. Let's go down resources. And I can either do the National Chamber of Commerce or Industry Net. I put another one in here, by the way, guys, Industry Net. That's a great resource. Finding a shipper. The National Chamber of Commerce, you said North. What borough? Are you on the island or are you upstate?
The Bronx.
Uh-oh. You said that tough too, like real intimidating. I'm getting scared. See, I'm in the Bronx. In the Bronx. So what county, I guess? I see Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce, but I'm sure it's not Bronx County, but let's see, but you got all these greater, I'm just gonna say greater New York, right? Just pick one. Greater New York. And then when you get to the actual website of the Chamber of Commerce, then you want to look for either their members profile or some type of business directory, right? And then you select the particular subject in that business directory. Now we're in transportation, warehouse, logistics, so you want to select something that relates to us, right? So in this case, it could be like distribution, manufacturing, distributors. You can do distributors, or you may, let's hit M's. Let's see M for manufacturing. Let's see if any manufacturers come up for the M. And manufacturers, bam, right there, manufacturers. So those are usually shippers because manufacturers make products, right? They have raw materials come to them and they make the products. That's what manufacturers are. Manufacturers is another word for making something, right? So they make it in order to be shipped to who? Distributors, right? So now we're getting into and I've been doing studies for a year now on this, but the supply chain, right? The hierarchy of logistics, right? Raw materials, manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers, retailers, and then the end user, right? So, so manufacturers make the products. Now, when you go after shippers too, don't ask for just their outbound freight, right? You know, you want to double your chances of getting some traction. Ask for where they're getting their inbound. Where are you getting your raw materials to make the products from? Who is shipping your raw materials? Who is shipping you your widgets so you can design the finished product? Who are shipping you your plastics or your boxes or your nuts and bolts or whatever you need to make what you make? Where are you getting those goods from? So now they're giving you leads to other shippers, right? In addition to you doing their outbound freight, their finished products, their manufactured goods, right? So now we're going to hit search for manufacturers, and we're in the greater New York area. So now we have these shippers here, and this is just a resource back here: manufacturer, animal nutrition, dietary supplement manufacturers, manufacturing industrial items. So that sounds like a tractor trailer type of manufacturer there. Manufacturer of specialty glasses, ceramic, that sounds like a tractor trailer manufacturer. Home fashion, this sounds like a tractor trailer manufacturer, you see? So this is just for Miss Ramsey's in the greater New York area, close to home, right? Call them, and they have contact person's name. Let's go back up to the one that we were looking at, or one of the ones we were looking at. In every case, there's a contact person name, a phone number, an email, and sometimes there's a website, other times, and an address. So there's plenty of ways to get a hold of them. You just got to decide what you're going to say to them and how you're going to say it, right? So someone called me, I am Alex, I can't pronounce his last name, but Setchis at A.W. Hudson Company, Inc., manufacture industrial items, right? Can you guys see the screen? This is me, Alex. And I will pick on Miss Ramsey because this is her area. This is her backyard right here. But anyone can do this as practice. Call me, I'm the shipper, I'm Alex. And before you call a shipper, guys, make sure you do your homework of what their product is. It would look bad on a broker to call a shipper and not be educated on what their products are. Because if I was a shipper, I would put you to the test. Oh, you want to move some of my loads? Okay. What's our commodity? What do we move? Right? You just called me out of the blue saying you want to move some of my freight. Hey, I'm James with ABC Freight Brokers. Can I move some of your freight? Okay, yeah. What's our freight? What equipment type does it go on? What's our lane? You see what I'm saying? So you want to make sure you do your homework. And the way you do your homework is go to their website and peruse, see if it lists anything about their lanes, the commodities that they haul. Commodity means what's being hauled on the trailer. What are their products, right? What do they ship? Okay. So how would you call me at A.W. Hudson Supply Company, Inc. I'm gonna pretend to be Alex. Someone called me at 917 blah blah blah, and start that conversation. Anyone, except Mr. Donald.
Okay.
Well, no, you know what? Go ahead, Mr. Donald, because I want people to hear if you want to do it too.
Okay, I got a little sidetracked over here, so let me see. We're going to be your A.W. Hudson Supply Company. What do you make? Specialty glass, ceramics, optical products.
No, I'm just a manufacturer, industrial items. So okay, let's be corny. We could be corny. I'll be Corny Inc. And I'll be this one.
Okay. So
of course, my name's not Lisa, but
Right. Okay. All right. So I would start off. I would call. I get to you, or just the whole process.
Right. So let's assume you called and you got a corporate switchboard to a gatekeeper.
Hey, one of the easiest things I'll do is I'll say, hey, good afternoon, how are you? My name is Donald with OnePlus Logistics. How's it going today?
I'm okay. How you doing? How can I help you?
Wonderful. I'm doing great. Hopefully after this call is over, I'll be doing a lot better. The purpose of my call is I'm trying to get in contact with your transportation manager over in logistics department. Is there any way you can transfer me over?
Yeah, could I ask for the purpose of the call?
Well, the reason I'm calling today is I'm hoping we can sit down and discuss business.
Okay, yeah, 1 second. Let me transfer you over to Larry. It's not Lisa, it's going to be Larry at extension 366. Usually on corporate lines, the extension is usually the last 3 or 4 digits of the phone number. So in this case, I'll just say extension 366, okay? That's usually how it works, in case you guys didn't know that. Okay. Ring. Okay, hey, this is Larry. How can I help you?
Hey, Larry, good afternoon. This is Donald OnePlus Logistics. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm okay. What can I do for you?
Hey, Larry, I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm not going to waste too much of your time, but I'm a broker, and I'm hoping that we can sit down and discuss options that you might have available with logistical needs of the company. Now, before you go a little bit too far into it, let me explain to you. I offer a service. I'm pretty good at what I do. I am small, home-based. However, I'm trying to grow my business. So do you think this might be something that you can work with, Larry?
That's a possibility. We have brokers that we're dealing with, but every so often there are some that fall off because of, just performance issues. So.
Well, when you say performance issues, what kind of challenges are you facing? Maybe I can help you out with some of those holes you're doing.
Well, some of these brokers, the trucks that they procure, the drivers are not good. They're always late. Sometimes there's claims, issues like that. So if I'm gonna entertain brokers, I expect them to have the capacity that meets my requirements. So when we drop off a broker, we really need to fill that space that we dropped off, because we have to maintain a certain level of capacity in order for us to satisfy our customer. So
I would imagine, with respect to that, you depend on your brokers to be reliable, responsible, and very cautious on the carriers that they bring to the table. Let me tell you, Larry, I work very hard at ensuring that the carriers I bring on board are vetted for compliance, are safe, and my purpose of my business is to make sure that I serve you as my client and give you 100% of the service that you do deserve.
Okay, sounds good so far.
So what I would like to do, Larry, is I would like to figure out if I'm going to be a good fit for your company. So how can I connect with you right now just to get the process started? I don't want to take your entire day away from you right now with the conversation, because I'm quite sure I'm 99 on the list of brokers that have called you today, but I want to be the #1 broker that you decide to do business with. So what do you need from me right now?
Well, the one thing I just need your information, first of all, so we can kind of fill each other out, and I'll send you mine and then we'll go from there.
That sounds like a great idea. So what I'll do is I'll make sure I provide you with all the information that I normally send out. And I do want to secure this agreement with you. I want to secure this contract. I want to move your freight. And I want you to have trust in my brokerage. So if you would, just give me your email address. I'll send you over my broker shipper agreement, and we can start from there. Does that sound good to you?
That sounds excellent. Yes.
Okay. So if you give me that email, I'll get it going right now. And I do appreciate your time, Larry. So we can move forward from here, but let me get you what you need, and we can work this out together.
All right. Thank you, sir. Have a wonderful day.
Same to you. And then I'll get the email and call it a day. I mean, that's pretty much that's pretty much how it works. And you know, you'll get the shippers that are going to fight you back. I usually just go right to the punch now. I mean, it depends on the mood. Like the way that you came at me, that's kind of like, okay, I'm busy. I don't want to take too much time. And I just by the tone of the voice.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to let you, you know, say, hey, what's going on? How can I help you? What's up? You know, and then you said, hey, I don't want to waste your time. I want to cut straight to the chase. You made your point. So.
Yeah, and he's going, and the tone he gave me is telling me that he doesn't want to sit down and chit chat about it. So what I'm now just strategically moving towards, let me get your email address and let's go that direction. If I got a more of a vibe of you having, like you were just in a chill mode, you want to talk, I'm going to feed off of that, and I'm going to shift gears, and I'm going to start feeding in that direction. Your whole approach has to be based on the tone you get from the person you're speaking with.
So that was my next point. So you have to be able to recognize their energy in order to decide how the conversation is going to be.
That's right. You got to pick it up. You got to pick it up quick, and you have to, you know, just counter the best way you can. Every call you make is going to be different. Every person is going to have a different attitude. I always throw little puns out there to see what kind of feedback I get. If I get back the laugh, I know that they're more relaxed. If I get the short and busy approach, all right, so the next step is let me get this email. We're going to correspond by email. This person is going to sit down. They're going to take time out when they have time. And if they're interested, they're going to respond back to me. So this is what I do, and it's been working. So,
right.
You know.
Yeah, it has to work. You got 6 shippers, right? So yeah. So the keys to that when you're cold calling is recognizing the tone of the person on the other end before you decide what lane you go down in the conversation.
Right, and you're going to get better. You just got to get past that first the fear of making the call. I was like that. I think I've said this before. It was very difficult for me to do a cold call. I've never done that before in my life. And as I called more people, I just said, you know what? I got laughed at. When I got laughed at by a shipper, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm changing this up. I'm doing this differently. And that's,
so wait a minute. I remember that story was they were on speaker, right? They didn't know that you was hearing them on the other end, right?
Yeah, they put me on hold. They said they were going to stand by, but they put me on hold, but the phone was still live. And the guys, it was 2 people, they started laughing about it. They said, oh my God, this guy is horrible. And they just started cracking up. I was like, okay, this doesn't work.
Wow. Yeah. So but guess what that caused though for you? Motivation.
Gave me motivation, and I changed up my strategy. I said, you know what, I'm going to have some more control over this call. I'm going to bring control to the call. And that's how I've been approaching it.
There you go. Mm-hmm. So does anyone have any feedback for that cold call, that mock conversation between myself and Mr. Donald at OnePlus Logistics? I saw that some people said that was pretty good. So you're not going to always get it that kind of smooth, but you're going to get some rough edges a little bit too. So
yeah, it's not easy. It's, you know, I mean, I make cold calls every day just to stay in practice, if you want to look at it that way. Plus, I never know when I'm going to get a good lead. So that's something that you just have to keep doing every day. And it's going to take a lot of phone calls. Don't think that the 3rd call you make is going to be successful. You might not see any kind of success until you hit the 30th call. You just have to keep pushing. And I promise you, once you get that first connection, you're going to definitely start looking at it a little differently.
So imagine this, right? Because we use our phones every day, right? The people we call and stuff like that. Imagine all the calls we make and how comfortable we are with the people we're talking to on the line, whether friends, family, things like that. Imagine replacing 50% of the calls that we get a day with calling shippers, right? We use our phones every day anyway. We're on the phone all the time. I can't imagine a person nowadays without a phone in their hand, right? So imagine if half the call volume that you make outbound calls, like you calling someone, imagine 50% of that changed from family, friends to shippers that you were calling. So your call volume is still the same. You're still making the same volume of calls. You're just changing who you're calling to, right? You're using your same phone. You're having the same tone of your voice and things like that. You're talking to someone. It's just the person on the other end now is a potential customer, or half of the volume of those calls that you're making in that one day's time is to a potential customer, right? Can you imagine that? If you put it in that perspective, think about it like that, you know? So anyone else on that? So now, what happens after the call? And like Mr. Dama and myself, it was said that, okay, send me your information, right? So now you have to send them. Let's say I told Mr. Donald I was Larry over at Corning, and I said, hey, send me your information, your packet, because I'm interested in what you have to offer. I actually have a need because we just dropped a broker due to their service metrics or their performance metrics were below our standard, so we had to drop them. What that means is when a broker's service metrics or performance metrics is below a shipper's standard, that means that the freight that they've entrusted to that broker is not being delivered to their customers in a timely fashion. So they have to change up. So they say, okay, well, I need One Plus Logistics over here, Mr. Donald. Send me your packet. So the next thing you're going to do is, what's the next thing you do, Mr. Donald?
Well, I'm going to make sure that they get it promptly. So it's going to include my profile. I'll send along my, it's going to be a profile, my insurance documents, my, my authority letter. Absolutely have to send your authority letter. You may even want to include your W-9. If you have file factoring, your notice of assignment should go along in that packet. Your bond information to show them that you are bonded. It's other stuff that goes in there. Let me see, I have a couple examples.
Yeah, you're right. Company profile, your broker shipper agreement, right?
Broker shipper agreement has to go in it. You can send them I would not expect them to sign the broker shipper agreement, because what I'm finding is what they're doing is they're sending me what they have in-house. So you would send it anyway if but don't expect them to return that to you. What they do want to see is they want to know that you're insured. They want to know that you're bonded. They want to make sure that you have an MC number and your license. And again, the profile is important because the profile is where you're going to get the opportunity to sell your service. So, my business does this, I specialize in this, and within the profile, you want to put pertinent information so that they can have a quick reference. Sometimes I'll even go as far as to send along with the notice of assignment, just in case they choose not to do factoring, I'll put along a copy of a canceled check. I'll send that sometimes too.
Right. And then BOC3?
My BOC3 goes with that too.
Yeah. So what we're listing, guys, is the contents of the broker shipper packet. Some of the basic things that it's needed for you as a new broker when you get your first shipper. What do I send them in order to get set up with that shipper? So Mr. Donald just listed, and I'm just scrolling through the screen here, other things. I just scrolled through the broker shipper packet. Now I'm on the broker carrier packet, but the broker shipper packet, Mr. Donald listed some of the basic things, obviously. So as a shipper, I need to see, okay, you sent me your broker shipper agreement, but I'm not going to sign that. I'm going to send you what we expect you to sign because we are giving you our freight. So we need to have you agree to our terms. Does that sound about right, Mr. Donald?
That is correct. And what you might also receive from them, it might be a non-disclosure agreement. With some shippers, they like to keep their rates top secret, if you would. So they might even want to say, okay, we have margins that we work with. This is what our normal freight spend is, and they want you to work within that budget. So you might even get a non-disclosure kickback at you that you have to fill out before you can even move forward.
Okay. So, and then the second thing is you need to send me a copy of your MC authority or your broker operating authority. Your broker license is what it's called on the actual piece of paper. It's called a broker license, but it's a broker authority. So that's telling the shipper that you have that you have an authority governed by the FMCSA, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, to behave and act as a logistics provider or as someone who arranges for the transportation of freight. That is what a broker does. So you sending that to the shipper, you're proving to them that you are legally a broker, right? So that is right here, your broker authority, your broker license, okay? After the agreement, your broker license. Next, you want to prove financial responsibility. That's called a bond, right? So the shipper needs to see that you have a bond, that you are bonded in accordance to the FMCSA as well. And the bond standard these days, the minimum is $75,000. Now, back in the Obama administration, it was 10. And part of changing that was legislation called MAP 21, MAP-21, moving ahead for progress in the 21st century. That's what that stands for. One of the things that it did, it increased the bonds requirement from 10,000 to 75, among other things too. But so you have to prove that you have some type of financial responsibility to cover in case of your acting unethical or financially irresponsible from a broker's perspective. Then we can go after your bond and do a claim and to recoup our monies. This is the shippers talking to the broker. So there's two types of financial responsibility types, I guess. There's a surety bond and a trust fund. So those new brokers who are applying for their authority for the very first time, your next step after filling out the OP1 form is to apply for a bond, whether it's a surety bond or a trust fund. Most new brokers are going to go the surety bond route because that's based off of your credit. You don't have business credit yet, so they're going to use your personal credit to determine your annual premium that you pay for the bond, the $75,000 bond coverage. So the better the credit, the lower the price, right? So let's say you got an 800 credit score. Let's say you go with a certain bond company, they give you an annual rate, and you pay this annually. You don't pay it monthly, whatever. You pay it one time for the year to have that $75,000 coverage. So let's say an 800 credit score gets you a $1,200 or $1,000 bond, $1,000 premium for that $75,000 bond coverage, right? So the bond company that you select, they would be the one, once they approve you, to file the right form with the FMCSA, letting the FMCSA know. Remember, the FMCSA, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, is the governing body that licenses brokers. Part of brokers becoming licensed, they have to meet pre-qualifiers. One of those pre-qualifiers is having a bond. So the surety bond form type is the BMC 84, which is on the screen. That's the surety bond based off of credit. The trust fund bond type is the BMC 85, okay? So those are the two bond types. Most brokers, most new brokerages who are forming their brokerage go with the BMC 84. So that's another thing that's required, that the shipper wants to see that you have a bond, you're showing financial responsibility. Another thing is called a BOC3. BOC3 is blanket of company, a blanket of coverage. What that is you are designating a process agent to represent you in cases of adjudication or claims, or someone needs to file, you've been served paperwork because someone filed a claim against you, right? So let's say you get a shipper, you're in Texas, right? You're in Duncanville, Texas. I know somebody on here right now who's from Duncanville, Texas, right? So you're in Duncanville, Texas, but you get a shipper over in Columbus, Ohio. And one of your carriers that you onboarded to your brokerage picked up a load in Duncanville or DFW, somewhere in the Metroplex, took it out to Columbus, and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, they didn't deliver it efficiently or correctly, and there was a claim filed, right? So a process agent in Columbus is going to forward that paperwork to the process agent in the domicile residence of where you are, your brokerage, Duncanville, Texas, or wherever in the DFW, and you're going to get served that, right? Your brokerage. So having a designated or process server is in cases of that, right? Serving you paperwork for stuff like that. Okay, so, and then UCR. UCR is a unified carrier registration. Even though it says unified carrier registration, brokers apply for this as well, because brokers they'll be listed as having 0 to 2 trucks, right? As a non-asset based brokerage. So they'll list their brokerage as having 0 to 2 trucks. That's pretty standard. Okay. And it just goes into the spiel of that. It's pretty straightforward here. Of course, your W-9 as a brokerage business, you have an EIN attached to your broker name, your company name. Okay. And then any supplemental insurance you may have, contingent cargo, errors and omissions, general liability, auto liability, whatever type that you're going to have in addition to the bond, you would also send that in to show the shipper that you have sufficient coverage for them to make them feel comfortable enough to give you their $1 million freight so that you can broker it to a carrier or a trucking company or an owner operator to deliver it, right? So that's kind of the process overall, a high level process. And then finally, if your brokerage is working with a factoring company, in other words, if you need cash flow upfront, which you probably will if you are a new broker, you don't have enough cash flow to sustain keeping the carriers happy by paying them upfront with quick pay or monies to keep running, keep the freight moving. So you leverage what's called a factoring company to purchase those invoices, right? To purchase those PODs once the carriers deliver. And then they'll charge you a percentage of purchasing those PODs in exchange for giving you an advance money to cover paying those carriers, okay? So that's what factoring companies do. So the credit application, the purpose of the credit application is for the factory company to make sure that the shippers are okay. They're running a credit check on the shippers, checking paydex scores and things like that, because not all shippers are good shippers, right? It's like not all brokers are good brokers from the carrier side, because carriers, truck drivers, owner operators, they deal with factory companies too. So the clients of the factory companies can be brokers and or carriers, because they're making sure that their clients are protected. So once the credit application of the shipper, in case of the broker, once the credit application of the shipper comes back favorable, then there will be a notice of assignment from the factoring company to that, in this case, the shipper, saying, hey, all invoices payable need to come to us now, the factoring company, and we'll deal with paying our client. Okay. So that's kind of the high level process. I know Mr. Nelson's on here. Mr. Donald, did I miss anything?
I don't believe so. I did step away for a couple moments, but I don't believe you missed any topics on there.
Okay. So
hey,
any questions? Go ahead.
Mr. Mundy.
Yes, sir.
So I know that you speak about in the top of the requirements. You have business plan. How important and does that business plan? Is that business plan put into the packet when you send it to the carrier, to the shipper?
No, it's not. That business plan is mainly for you. It's just basically your foundation of your business is a business plan, right?
Okay.
It's mainly for you, yeah. Because the shipper's not gonna be too concerned about your business plan. They just want to make sure that you meet the minimum requirements that they need in order for you to satisfy, moving their freight. A business plan is mainly for your company, outlining what your projections are, your mission statement, your financials, your 3 or 5 year plan and things like that. So
who will see that other than yourself?
Unless someone asks for it, no one. Okay. Yeah. So it's just mainly there for that's why it's a prerequisite, having a business plan for your company. So when you form your business initially, not even applying for your brokerage, when you first get started, thinking about your business, it's always good for new businesses to at least entertain the idea of a business plan, because you want to know how you want to structure your business. What are your projections? What are your, what's this and what's that? So, okay. Sky.
Hi, Mr. Charles. I'm glad you're back. I kind of missed the intro. I came in late. Hi, everybody else in the panel. But in discussing the business plan, because I was actually putting together a template that I was going to offer, I guess that it wouldn't be beneficial to the broker side, but the dispatchers, I guess, actual business plan, like a template. And basically the business plan is if you also want to do that, and then you want to later get loans for your company, that's the main purpose of having a business plan.
There you go. So it rolls into the whole business credit concept, and then
correct.
Yeah, business credit. And if you want to scale, you're scaling your business. Let's say you want to leverage your company in order to get credit to scale your business. Let's say you want to buy some trucks for your brokerage. You want to become asset based. You want to get trucks, or you want to start a trucking company. So you leverage your brokerage through your business plan with a bank and build business credit to go that route. So, all right. Very good, Scott. Thank you. All right. So now that was and with Mr. Donald's One Plus Logistics, that was the whole shipper relationship where you send out the packet to the shipper. So you just satisfied one side of your brokerage, right? You got the shipper, you called them on the phone, they said, hey, send the packet, and you sent them the packet. We showed you the ingredients of the packet, or the contents, I should say, of the packet. So can we get a copy of the plan she was offering? Yes, Bishop, Mr. Johnson, you have to reach out to Sky.
Yes, I'm here. I will post my information in the chat box. And everybody that's part of, that's a paid subscriber, is a discounted charge for you guys. So I will put my information in the chat if you're interested.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. So now you satisfied one half of your brokerage, right? You've got the shipper, you got their freight, right? You sent them the broker shipper packet. They've accepted it. They sent you what's called a load tender. In other words, for you to sign to, agree to, or not. Just because you receive a load tender doesn't necessarily mean that you have to agree to it, right? Rate quotes, lane quotes, load tenders, target rates, those kinds. You're going to hear those terms a lot, okay? When you're dealing with customers or shippers. Let's say you signed the rate quote, or you signed the load tender. That means you are responsible now to tender that load. You have to move that freight for that shipper, right? So now you have to find a carrier, trucking company, owner operator, truck driver, whatever you want to call it, right? To move the freight. So now we're getting into the broker carrier packet and its contents. So now you're the broker and you're doing a broker carrier. Let's say you posted that load for that shipper that we had in the example of Mr. Donald and myself. I think it was Coining Incorporated. We posted the load on the load board. Okay, good rate. It was a dry van load. It was picking up in, I don't know, where am I? I'm in Norfolk. It's picking up in Norfolk, Virginia, and it's going to Atlanta, right? And you posted it for, the shipper sent you a load tender for $3,000, okay? You do a spot market rate comparison on your load board to see what's being paid by brokers in the spot market to the carriers. So you go on a load board like that and you do a comparison. What are carriers being paid by brokers normally in this lane? That's how you would determine how much if you want to stay competitive in your rates when you post it on the load board. So let's say that $3,000 load tender that the shipper gave you, the carrier was being paid $2,750, right? So that means you got what, $250 left, right? Or that's your profit. If you got a $3,000 tender and you got a $27 on the spot market, it averages $2,750. You got $250 that's going to equal $3,000, right? So when you post it on the load board, and remember this, let's say this tender is non-negotiable, right? Let's say it's non-negotiable. In other words, the shipper's not going to budge on the $3,000, okay? So you posted on a load board, do you post it for $27.50 at the top range of making your profit margin of $250, or do you post it a little bit below, like $2,700, $2,650? What would be your strategy as a broker? If you want to make that $250 to stay competitive, what would you post that load for on the load board? Just out of curiosity, I want to hear what people have to say about that. Because these are things that you're going to eventually going to have to consider when you are trying to move freight and you're trying to move it in a competitive market, that you want to keep pace with the spot market of the freight on the board. So that's why you look on low. Matter of fact, you look on DAT. Let's do that now. Let's look on DAT. Okay. And let's say we got a load tender for $3,000 from our customer, right? And we want to see what the loads are. We said it was a dry van load, right? And let me remove this real quick. Delete this one. So it was a van load, a dry van. Okay. And it was picking up in Norfolk, Virginia. This is what you would do as a broker. You're going to compare what's out there to kind of determine what your price margin is going to be, right? So it's going to Atlanta, picking up in Norfolk. And let's say it's moving tomorrow. Just throwing something out there. 100-mile deadhead or radius back and forth, okay? Everything else is being the same. So there we go. So now the broker to carrier spot market. In other words, the broker to carrier means what the broker is paying to the truck. On average is $3.48 per mile, with a range of $3.02 to $3.56 a mile. And the mile run on that is 566 miles, okay? So those are the constant numbers we have, right? So you guys see that part so far, right? You have a $3,000 load tender, so you got enough room to play with this and still eat. You guys follow what I'm saying? You could eat with this one because on average, 566 total. I'm gonna click this. 560. That's the trip. Norfolk to Atlanta is 560. You can Google that. And in most cases, when you get load tenders from shippers, you want to ask them for the zip code of the shipper facility to the zip code of the receiving facility. So in other words, zip to zip, so you can get a true mile, right? Because when you Google stuff, it gives you the city limits distance, right? But you want the zip to zip. So you'll say this is from 23510 in Norfolk, Virginia to Atlanta, which is what zone is Atlanta in? Zone 5, I think it is. Zone 4, 3, 2, something like that. 1. So whatever zone. So Georgia zip code begins with what? Whatever Georgia's zip code begins with, the number, that's the zone that it's in. Like Norfolk zip code, we're in zone 2 because Norfolk zip code begins with 23510. So whatever zip code Georgia's in, begins with, that's the zone that it's in. So zip to zip, right? So zone 3, 30316. So thank you, above ground. So they're in zone 3. So you guys, I don't know if you knew that or not. So that's how you can tell what zone things are moving in based off of the zip code of the state, of the area, right? So whatever state you're in, whatever your zip code is, that's what zone you're in, right? So I'm in Norfolk, I'm in zone 2 because my zip code begins with the number 2, right? So zip to zip, get the true miles. This one says 566 miles. You remember you had a $3,000 load tender from your shipper. So they want this move for real. So the broker to carry your spot market is 348 on average. So 566 at 348 per mile. What is that? That's a little under That's not even $2,000, right? Maybe a little over 2,000. So if you really want this freight moved, you can move it for a different number. So I'm bringing up my calculator real quick. 566 times, what's that? Oh, I'm taking the average number, 348. 566 miles times 348 is $1,969, $1,969. Now, if I take the maximum range cents per mile, which is in this case, $3.56, and multiply that times the 566 miles, that's the most that myself as a broker, I'll be willing to pay to the truck. $2,014. So that's still not, remember, you got a $3,000 load tender. So you can play with that a little bit. So knowing that, what would you post the load for on the load board in order to entice carriers to call you? If you notice the comparisons, 1,500, 1,400, 1,400, 1,100, right? And it's also based off of the weight, you know, where it's specifically picking up, where it's specifically going, and what radius it's in. Remember, I'm Norfolk to Atlanta, so how far my carrier has to drive from where they currently are, they're 20, to the pickup location in Norfolk, and then how far they can deliver. So those are some of the factors as a broker that you want to consider. So let me repeat the scenario. $3,000 load tender from a shipper. You need to post this rate on a load board for a certain amount in order to get a carrier enticed enough to call you. Someone give me an idea, what would they post their load for on a load board? If you got a $3,000 load tender and you want to stay competitive with the spot market, what would you post it for on the load board? No takers, no takers.
2,100.
2,100, Robert says. Robert says 2,100. So
I do $2,014.
Yeah, so you'll do the max of that range, 2014. Robert said 2,100, so he went above the max. So the carrier said, okay, well, the spot market normally pays between 15 and 2,000. He said 2,100, so he must really need that load moved. That's what, if I was a carrier, I'd be looking at it like that, right? So Robert said 2,100. So he's going to make, if he posted for 2,100, remember he has to load tender for 3,000. So he's going to make 900 off of that. When you invoice the shipper, you're invoicing them for 3,000. The rate of the load tender. Dorothy said 1,800. Okay, that's decent. She's like 300 above the max on this load. So that's decent too, Dorothy. 21 will definitely get a call. You'll get a call all day, Robert, and your shipper will love you because they gave you enough, the shipper gave you enough wiggle room to make your money and give the carrier a decent amount that's a little bit above the spot market. So, but therein lies the game a little bit right there. You got to compare before you post your load on a load board. You want to make sure that it competes at least with what the market dictates for that lane. Charles. Yes, sir.
What's the mileage on it?
566. Okay. Yep, 566.
Carrier's gonna spend gonna burn 125 gallons running that load. What's the cost of fuel right now?
Ooh, yes. Yeah, what is the cost? So coming out of Norfolk.
$6.
Well, $6 in California, but this load's picking up in Norfolk. So let's say the carrier had to fuel up in Norfolk. Let's say he just got off a job. He did his reset. He said, well, let me fuel up before I pick this next load up in Norfolk, taking it to Atlanta. Diesel fuel in Norfolk right now, I saw $4.85. $4.85.
Yeah.
Okay. So $4.85. So, okay, so let's do some mathematics now.
So he's gonna spend $606 in fuel running that load. So he's gonna come back at you probably, even if you posted at 21, he's gonna come back at you probably for 24 to 25.
Woo! So now as a broker, you're gonna say, well, man, you're eating into my profit. Well, you're not gonna tell him that literally, but that's what you're thinking. I got 3,000 tender on the load from the shipper. You want 25. I'm still gonna make 500. So I'm still good on one load. 500 to make $500 off one load is not bad, right?
But as a broker, you have to understand that in this time and era, this is the way these carriers are going to come back at you right now, because they are hurting because of fuel prices. Even if the market yields at 328 or 335 on the lane, you'll find that most carriers are going to be asking for anything above $5 a mile to run a load. To try and cover some of those fuel expenses. So even with that 10-year being a $3,000 10-year and average being posted at $1,500 to $1,800, that may be in the moment. That's subject to change anytime anybody picks up the phone and call you now.
Right. So now Mr. Nelson said, he made a good point, and I wanted to make sure that everybody was clear or kind of understood what Mr. Nelson said. He said fuel is going to cost such and such dollars, right?
$606 run that load.
Right. So does everybody understand where he got that number from? I want to make sure that is clear. So let me share the screen. Okay. Somebody said no. So let's see where he got that number from. So the average diesel, miles per gallon is what, Mr. Nelson? 5.5 to 6 miles a gallon to the tank, to the truck?
Well, you have to take into consideration where it's coming out of Virginia, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at 4.5 because of the mountains and hills coming that way.
Okay. So we're going to say 4.5 miles to the gallon, right? So and it was 566 miles. Okay. That's the miles right there. Everybody see my screen, the calculator? 566 miles on that total trip from Norfolk, Virginia to Atlanta, Georgia. On average, miles to the gallon a truck gets is about 5.5 to 6, but Mr. Nelson made a great point. Because of the mountains and the hills, it's going to slow that down, right? And it's going to, so 4.5 is fair. So I'm going to divide the number of miles, total miles in that trip, that this one lane that we're delivering, that we have from our shipper, divided by the miles per gallon for that truck, 4.5. That's going to tell me how many gallons of fuel I need to purchase to run that 566 mile trip. Everybody with me so far?
Yes.
So that equals, I need to have 125.777, let's just say 126 gallons. So I need 126 gallons of diesel fuel in my truck, in my tank, in my fuel tank, in order to run that 566 mile trip from Norfolk, Virginia in a dry van to Atlanta, Georgia. Everybody clear on that, right? So now you take 126 gallons and you multiply it times, in this case, it was, what was it? $4.50 per gallon?
485.
485, there you go, 4.85 for diesel fuel, and you need 126, $611.10. It's going to take you $611.10 to purchase worth of diesel fuel for that one trip in that one lane to run. So now we're getting into what the carrier's expense is. So the number one, well, not the number one, but one of the main line item expenses for carriers, obviously, the biggest one is fuel. Always. You can't move. If you ain't got fuel, you can't move that truck. And then number two, obviously, is insurance. If you're not insured, you can't move the truck, right? But the number one, fuel. That's a fixed cost, right? Sometimes it's variable. Fixed, variable. It depends on how you look at it. So, but that's a cost. So now Mr. Nelson brought that great point up. So now the carrier's looking at like, okay, well, I got to spend $600 in fuel. You posted it for 21. So if I take 600 out of 21, that's only going to leave me 1,500, right? So if I negotiate up to like 25, if I take 600 out of 25, that's going to leave me 19. So now that gets back to the more competitive rate and excluding my fuel expense. So this is the carrier's mindset, right?
Yeah. That's why he's going to be asking for that, because of the high cost of fuel. I mean, I've got carriers asking me on 105-mile runs, 85-mile runs. They're asking for anywhere between $6 to $12 a mile.
Man, they must be. Where are they at? Are they like climbing? Are they like climbing 5 and 7% upgrades and downgrades somewhere, or what?
Well, going out of Maryland into Pittsburgh, going out of Maryland into other parts of New Jersey.
They're hitting the App Mountains. They're hitting the apps.
Right.
And my son told me in Chicago, he just got up there the other day, $8 a mile.
It's getting crazy. This is the new world order.
But I mean, when you're having to pay higher fuel prices, you know, I mean, what else can you do? I mean, you got to pay it if you want it moved.
But Mr. Nelson, the shippers, from my 20 years of driving and being in the business, shippers don't generally increase their rates because the fuel prices have gone up. Most of them you still got to haggle with them just to get that little extra bump, because they're working on a budget, so they're trying to stay within their budget, even though they see what's going on.
Well, yeah, what they're doing is because what's happening with that is that the contract carriers are basically, bumping their budget. And what I mean by contract carrier, those are those people that come in in January through March and bid on thousands of loads in thousands of lanes. Okay. So they get contract rate, which may be anywhere between, say, $8 and $15 a mile, depending on where it's going. Okay. And so when that carrier either falls off or decides that he doesn't want to haul, or there's not enough capacity in the lane where that freight comes back to the spot market, then that shipper himself sees an opportunity to save the company some money. Now, trust me, don't believe that every shipper out there doesn't know what the rates are that are out there. He knows. Especially in this younger age of shippers, because most of those are logistics specialists. They've gone to college. I mean, they have a degree in transportation logistics and moving freight. And so what they're going to do, they're going to look at the spot market just as well as any broker out there is looking at the spot market, just as well as any carriers out there looking at the spot market. You'll find that, in some situations, you'll find some companies that have an MC number, a shipper that has an MC number. That shipper that has an MC number has that logistics manager, which is also a freight broker within that company. So yeah, they're going to watch the market just like you're going to watch the market, just like the carrier is going to watch the market.
They would be dumb not to, right?
If you want to keep pace. Wouldn't it make, if you're an owner operator right now, with the fuel prices being what they are, and you have a truck note, it's almost imperative for you to get the maximum amount of dollars, because like you just said, if they're charging $8 a gallon, $7 a gallon, $6 a gallon, in California, the fuel is ridiculous. So, out here it's always ridiculous. So if you have to compensate for that. If you're traveling 1,600 miles and the fuel, you're leaving out of California and the fuel is at $6.03 a gallon, you can't even fill it. Most of the guys I know are not even filling their trucks up in California. They're waiting until they get into Arizona, where the fuel drops about 12, 15 cents a gallon.
Right.
Because it just doesn't make sense to fuel up a truck at $6, $7 a gallon, roll down the highway, get out of California, get to a lower fuel where the cost of fuel is a little cheaper, and then they're piecing it. Instead of loading, filling your truck, all your tanks up, they're just piecing it as they go down the highway until they can get to the lowest possible fuel prices.
Right. I'm gonna tell you what I did back in the 90s. Right after 9/11, when the fuel prices started to spike, went up like crazy, I parked mine in the yard. Put the bare minimum insurance on it. That way I would stay legal, and I went in and got me a company truck and let them pay for my fuel and my insurance while I made money to continue to survive until the rates got back right. I did that for about 1.5 years. Therefore, I could pay my truck note. I could still make money. I could still pay my other expenses, but yet again, I didn't have to compete with everybody in the market as far as buying fuel.
Yeah. And then also my son said that He went to Chicago. If he stayed up there 2 weeks and just made some of those short runs at that $8, $10, $12 a mile, then he could make a lot more money there and then come home and, and work it that way as well.
Yeah, I would suggest anybody, if you got a situation where you're running like you're running now, find your shipper that's got short loads to where you can run. And I guess I'm advertising for somebody, but find your shipper that's got short loads to where you can run 3 to 4 a day, and then after you've run for 3 days in that area, then get your load going home. I mean, you're on the road, you're in your truck, you're spending the night out there somewhere. So you may as well be making $15,000 to $18,000 to $2,000 a day, running less than 500 miles a day. And then at the end of the week, grab your load going home.
And you still grossing between 8 and 10, almost 8 and 10 grand, huh?
Probably anywhere between 10 to 15.
Yeah.
Because you take a load going up, say you come out of Dallas, you take a load going up, say Virginia, West Virginia, you can do, $2,200 going up. You turn up there and run 3 days up there for $1,500. That's $4,500. You turn around and get your load coming back for 3.
Yep, and put you well over 10,000.
Put you well over 10,000.
Yep. That's what my son said.
That's how you do it. LaDonna.
Hello again, everybody. I just want to ask that question again while Mr. Nelson is here. Mr. Nelson, as far as a broker agent, do I pay them a 1099 or a W-2? How does that work if I want to get a broker agent under my brokerage?
They're under contract with you. They contract with you as a broker agent to work and operate under your authority. Okay. And it's left up to you whether or not you want to provide them with a TMS or you want to provide them with well, they're going to be covered by your insurance, but load boards and things such as that. I say in order to help them out, because it's cheaper for you to just provide them with a login to your load board, log in with the TMS, and let them pay for the login cost instead of having to go out and spend the total expense for a load board and the total expense for a TMS. That way you got your eye on. You can make them a user, but you're admin, so you're going to see everything that they do.
So they don't. So as far as a 1099 and W-2, they don't need to be an independent contract. They don't need to start their own business.
Well, yeah, they need to start their own business so they can be a 1099.
Okay.
But if they're a W-2, then they are your employee, and therefore you have to provide insurance and workman's comp and the whole 9 yards.
And what would their business name consist? You know what I'm saying?
They still have to operate under their business name, whatever they decide to create their business as. But when they go out to represent, they represented themselves as your company. They've got business cards with your name, your address on it.
Oh, okay. So they'll be like a third party of me since they're a contract.
Right. And then when it comes down to all the documentation is yours.
Right. Okay. So you know how a motor carrier, like a dispatcher is to a motor carrier, that's how it'll be. That kind of relationship. A dispatcher to a motor carrier.
Yeah, pretty
like
much.
We're signing their name and, with the limited power of attorney.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, basically. They're operating as if they were your employer, going out, talking to customers, getting customers, bringing them back to your company because, they work under your authority. When they send out their broker carrier agreement, it's your broker carrier agreement.
And so their name,
broker shipper agreement.
If they're starting like an LLC, their name could be like Alley Logistics. It'll be another logistics company.
Right. It'll be another logistics company, but it's not going to be anywhere on your paperwork.
I got you. Okay. Thanks, Ms. Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Joshua.
Yes. For that question for LaDonna, they don't have to have a business established. They can either use their EIN number or their social security number. So they'll just file their taxes like that. They'll be their name with their social security number as a 1099. Now, the thing about what separates a W-2 from a 1099, if you are having like mandatory trainings and you're trying to tell them what to do, then they're going to fall under as a W-2 regardless if you give them a 1099. So you got to be careful with that. What you want to kind of list it as workshops, because if it's mandatory,
then you're going to be obligated to pay them. Like if they want to turn around and, well, the business is slow and they want to file a claim on your business, now you're eligible, or it's going to be mandatory for you to pay them back all those hours, even if they didn't work those hours. I had a situation like that before happen with one of my business partners, because I used to franchise Liberty Tax Service for 3 years. So I understood a little bit. I didn't touch too many taxes, but I understood that part of it, where it's at like that borderline. You can get in trouble even if you give them a 1099 and you're telling them what to do, you're telling them mandatory trainings, you're still gonna be obligated to pay them hourly if they wanted to file a wage claim against you.
So can a broker really tell a broker agent what to do then? I mean, I know what you just said about the W-2.
If you put them as a W-2, like if you pay them salary and commission, and absolutely, you can tell them whatever, you can tell them whatever you want to tell them. And if they don't do it, then you fire them. But if they're 1099 and they're 100% commission and you're not paying them hourly and they're on 1099, they're like a contractor. They're right. Providing a service for your business. You can't, if you tell them, hey, you need to be here at a certain time, then even though you have them at 1099, they're still going to fall under as a W-2.
Well, you can represent performance, and if they're not out there performing, then bottom line, you can get rid of the contract. The point is the purpose for coming under your authority is to perform. Oh yeah. And the purpose for coming under your authority is to bring shippers to the business. And so, bottom line, if they're under contract, you can say to them, "Hey, look, I see that you're out there, but you're not bringing in any business. What's the purpose for me having you under my authority if you're not bringing in any business?"
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as holding business meetings and things such as that, no, you can't. Wow. But the fact is, if they sign on with you, they sign on with the purpose that, somebody's giving me an opportunity to where I don't have to foot the expense of being a broker, buying the insurance, buying the bond, then I need to perform.
In your opinion, which one is the best, W-2 or 1099?
I would consider 1099. I mean, the thing about it is just like anything else, you can stipulate what you want a person to do under your contract, and it's left up to them. It's left up to them whether or not they're going to perform. I mean, that's on any job that you go to as an employee, as an employee. Your employer has hired you to come to work to do a specific job. Now it's left up to you to walk in the door to know what your duties are, your job duties are every day, because they've showed it to you, and get to work and do what you're supposed to do. Now, if I see you coming to work, but there's no productivity happening in your area, what am I going to do? Am I going to continue to pay your paycheck? No, I'm going to tell you need to pack your bags and go.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, that broker agent, if he comes on board, say he brings a book of business and he's already established, well, he knows that he wants to keep those carriers, so he's going to go to work and get busy anyway.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't have a book of business, then it's left for him to get busy and generate him a book of business. Because right now, see, the whole thing about it is that you're saving him the expense of having to pay all of these things on a monthly basis. But yet again, at the same time, he's not producing. But it's in essence, he's on a ride with you, but not paying for his ride with you.
Gotcha.
Good points. Sky.
Yes, Joshua, you actually kind of covered my other question I was going to ask Mr. Nelson. So this sounds like something that you're doing. So are you using a subcontract that's kind of, what do they call it? Is this something that you located like online or something like that? Or did you just create a document?
You talking about for the template?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. So as far as what,
the subcontracting, well, the contracting 1099.
The 1099. Yeah, I remember getting a template somewhere. I can't remember. I believe it was Charles's his platform, because I know I had another template out there that I used. I asked a buddy online and I seen how that was worded, but I also just paid attention to, again, what do I want to do, W-2 or 1099? Because he can get tricky.
Mr. Charles has a template. Okay.
Correct.
Yes.
Well,
I didn't know that, Mr. Charles.
You have to be careful with that because there's a difference between subcontracting and broker and being a broker agent.
Correct. There you go.
Oh, wait, hold on now.
So what you have to do, you have to go and find a broker agent agreement because the stipulations and the guidelines in the broker agent agreement are governed by the Federal Motor Carrier Association.
There you go. There you go. Broker agent agreement, freight broker agent agreement. So this is
okay. So it needs so they kind of need to know that. So you can't really just pull somebody off the street. They need to kind of know the business already.
In most cases, most broker agents that are established, you would hope that you would find somebody that has 2 to 3 years of experience and at least have 3 to 5 shippers to come on board with you.
Oh. Okay, I was looking at this totally wrong. Okay, and I definitely don't want to do the W-2 because I remember somebody telling me you got to pay unemployment, medical, and all that. So I'm gonna
absolutely
go with this. Get that agreement, and then I'm gonna do. Now I am gonna have work rules, Mr. Nelson. So I hear what you guys are saying, but in the way I'm gonna kind of play it is if the person that comes in and they look like they are pretty much ambitious and want to work with the team, then, they probably get more bonuses. But, I don't want anybody, like you're saying, walking in when they want to.
But you can't run it that way.
You can't?
You can't run it like you're a business and you're offering perks. You don't offer perks as a broker agent. You allow him to run under your authority, and that's it. There's no perks. Because once you start to adding perks and, you get a bonus for this and you get this for that, then you're putting yourself in the realm of being an employer.
Oh, okay.
You don't want to put yourself in the realm of being an employer.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to hold up the class with this, but I might reach out to you at a different point, but thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Letitia.
I was just going to make the suggestion that people might want to check their own state laws. It might be different in different states. And that's my understanding because in the state of Maryland, we have people like that are work for Verizon per se, but are only installing cable, but they are contractors. They are set up as contractors, but they are still told a time for scheduling and they have to be certain places, certain times.
Okay, but that's not under the guidelines of the Federal Motor Carrier Association. That's a whole different ball game when it comes to the FMCSA.
Okay.
Okay, we're talking about transportation and logistics. We're not talking about contracting for AT&T, Southwestern Bell, Celadon. We're talking about the Federal Motor Carriers Association guidelines and rules. Those things are totally and completely different from the FMCSA.
So let me give you an example, because I think I got the CFR I think I have it in here. The Code of Federal Regulations, the CFR, and I think in transportation, it should talk about that in that section, especially under the broker side.
So everything is the same in each state. It just goes by federal guidelines, and every state is the same.
When it comes to the FMCSA, the law is ruled across all 48 continental United States.
Okay. Adjua Yahra, you have a question? I see you said I have a D. I don't know what that means. Do you have a question? I see it in the chat. I don't know if she meant to say she had a question or not, but okay, I have a DOT from a broker and I cannot locate any information. May I provide it? And we look. Sure, certainly. What's the DOT from a broker? She basically wants to look up the DOT. That's fine. I was going to make another point too while she's getting that.
But that's a broker. What's the purpose of looking up a broker?
That's a good question.
If you're a broker, what's the purpose of a broker sending you a DOT?
Oh, she said, sorry, not a broker.
A carrier. Okay.
So you have a DOT of a carrier. Okay. Yes, he said yes, a carrier. Okay, so they have a DOT and an MC. They have 3 units. Just got their DOT in 2022. Interstate. They do general freight and household goods, their authority. Refrigerated. Okay.
You said general freight and household goods?
General freight, household goods, and refrigerated food. That's the cargo carry. So what's your question that you had about this? So I was on the wrong page looking this up. Okay. So you just want to know. Okay, I answered. Okay. All right. All right.
A carrier set himself up wrong because he can't do household goods.
Right, and general freight.
Do general freight, but he can't do household goods because that's a mover. That's a mover.
Right. So I wonder if he's listed as household goods.
No, he just actually listed as a carrier of general freight, but he put household goods in the body, and
so he might have just did that not knowing what he was doing, essentially.
Right, because he can move household goods.
Yeah, so he is. Yeah, because he's listed as he's not household goods right here. He's just a property carrier, a common carrier, property, household goods. It says no. So he just checked the box that said household goods without even knowing what he was doing. He or she was doing. So, okay. So you're saying that she says he has loads and want us to move them. So a carrier has loads and wants you to move them. Are you a broker? That sounds backwards to me. Okay, I was not present when he approached my significant other, so I too am confused. Yes, sounds fishy. Yeah. So he's saying the carrier has loads and he wants you to move it and you are a broker, or you're applying to be a broker. So
now I would make a suggestion to you. If that be the case, you find out who that shipper is. It may be a situation where a carrier has a regular route with a shipper. He may be dedicated, and that shipper may be asking him, hey, do you have anybody to move these extra loads for me? Okay, if that be the case, then you make the contact with the shipper. You can't take those loads from a carrier and broker those loads because they don't belong to the carrier. They belong to the shipper.
Correct. That's correct. So that's a great point. So if you got a trucking company, right, and let's say you have 5 assets, and your trucking company gets a direct shipper, right? And the shipper has 20 loads. Well, you only have 5 assets, right? But you tell the shipper, okay, because I have a broker division, I can broker the other 15. I can move 5 of them on my assets and then broker the other 15, right, Mr. Nelson?
Under the guidelines of the Federal Motor Carrier Association, if he has 5 trucks and he's getting that type of volume of freight from a shipper, then he needs to enroll himself and become a broker.
Correct.
Because I think it was back in like 2012 or so, that was happening. Shippers were getting carriers were getting an abundant amount of freight, and they were just passing it along. And a lot of times they weren't paying the right rates, so they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And then the Federal Motor Carrier Association said, okay, well, if you are a volume shipper and you got additional loads, you need to have an in-house broker. And that's when most major trucking companies became asset-based brokerages.
Well, who like TQL, C.H. Robinson's, Coyotes?
Well, the TQL, C.H. Robinson's, Coyotes, they are brokers, legitimate brokers. I'm talking about Warner, J.B. Hunt, Snyder.
Okay.
Swift. They have brokers, inside brokers.
Yeah. All right. So hopefully that helped you out.
Yeah, you might need to find out who the shipper is, if that be the case, and tell him that you would go directly to the shipper as the broker and help him out. But I can't take those loads from you, the carrier, and broker those loads.
So once Warner, Snyder, JB Hunt, Swift created a separate brokerage division, now they can take that overflow freight from their direct shipments from their customers on the carrier side and broker them to their broker side.
Actually, they're asset based, yeah.
Yeah. Adana.
Yes, hello. So again, Mr. Nelson, can you talk to me about an asset to my brokerage? I'm interested in doing that. I did a little bit of research, but I want to know the perspective from you,
So
how I can
what are you
get
considering on doing?
to my brokerage.
What are you considering doing?
Broker and outloads.
Okay, but what type of equipment are you considering purchasing as far as that asset?
Reefer.
Okay, so you're looking at a Class 8 vehicle, such as a tractor, 18-wheeler.
Yes, a semi.
Okay, you're looking at a semi. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to apply for your authority. Add your insurance.
Say that again.
You're going to apply for your authority, your carrier authority. Okay, get legal. Do all the things that you need to do to get legal and add your insurance.
Well, that's what I thought. Okay, so so they said that in order for me, FMCSA, they said in order for me to have an asset, I need to do exactly what you said, which is get that. So you know how you see carrier broker on your
on the safer website,
Snapchat?
Right.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they said is all I have to do. They said I have to contact the insurance company, and then on their end, it's just literally changing that from broker to carrier/broker or broker.
Yeah. Once you get the equipment.
Okay. So I get the equipment from my insurance company?
No, you got to go out and buy the truck yourself.
Right, because you got to put the VIN number on, you got to put the VIN and all that stuff on the policy of the insurance before that become active. Right. And then go back to FMCSA to report that so they can change you from broker to broker/carrier.
Yeah, so okay, I think I'm looking into too much because obviously I already have a trucking company. So I'll just do that same thing over again and put that same amount.
You already have a trucking company.
So let me enlighten Mr. Nelson a little bit too, LaDonna. So LaDonna's husband has is it your and his company or Chris?
Correct.
Okay,
both of our companies.
Okay, so they have a trucking company, and now LaDonna just got a brokerage. Her brokerage became active as well.
Okay.
So now she wants to bring the trucking side as an asset for the brokerage. So now I think that's the question. How does she do that?
Okay, just let your trucking side, because it's already established, represent itself as your asset.
Right.
So in other words, you call your shipper, you sit up and say, hey, I've got assets, and your trucking company is your asset. The fact is, it's already established. Why tie it together?
Yeah, no, so that's one way that Charles said it. My way is actually literally just purchasing another vehicle. So I'll have to create a whole nother motor carrier authority.
Right. If you're going to purchase a whole another vehicle, then you have to create a motor carrier authority and then put it on up under your authority. Okay.
There's a DBA. There's that DBA question again.
So let me ask you this, Adana. Do you saying purchase another truck? Are you going to add that truck under the authority of the current company with the reefer?
No current company of the trucking, no, but the company of the brokerage, if I can. But that's what I'm doing research on.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
It'll just be your asset.
Yeah.
What is your company's name?
Sims Cole Logistics.
Okay. So in other words, it'll be Sims Cole Logistics. On the side of the door, it would be Sims Cole Logistics with the MC number.
So would I be a freight forwarder then?
No, you're not a freight forwarder. A freight forwarder ships freight in and out of the country. You're just becoming an asset-based brokerage. You bought an asset to go to your brokerage, and it's going to have on the side of the door. It's going to have your company name on the side of the door with the MC number to your brokerage in your carrier authority.
Okay.
All right. To be continued.
I'll have to break it down to you outside of class one day. Okay.
Okay.
Get in touch with me and I'll help you with it.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, guys. So let's see, Friday we'll have freight broker training. So starting April, I'm gonna end the class as far as the Zoom tonight, but starting April 1st, because of my condition now, I guess at this point, I got to get my blood pressure and everything down. So I'm going to, you notice I do Zoom lives on the dispatcher side 3 days a week, on the freight broker side 2 days a week in the same week, right? So upon the recommendation of number one, the wife, and number two, the doctor, well, 1A and 1A, I guess you would say, I'm going to slow down the frequency of I'm going to still teach 2 trainings in the week, but I'm going to do it every other week. So like every second and fourth week of every month, as opposed to all 4 weeks in the month. You guys follow what I'm saying, right? So instead of like, let's say every month has 4 weeks, right? Instead of teaching all 4 weeks, twice a week for the broker side, 3 times a week for the dispatching side, I'm going to do it the second week and the fourth week of every month. It's still going to be the same number of times. It's just going to be 2 weeks out of the month instead of 4 weeks out of the month. Okay. That's going to start in April. Okay. So, and I'll be constantly reminding everybody, changing the website, advertising it so people will know when it's coming. It's always going to be in every month. It's always going to be every second and fourth week of every month. There's going to be that Tuesday, Friday freight broker training, or that Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday dispatch training on the Zooms. So, but that's the only change that I'm making on the broker side. On the dispatching side, I'm making that as a change, as well as changing and I'll announce that tomorrow night on the dispatching side. There's no point in even mentioning it here. So, but that's the only change that I'm making. So the frequency of the trainings will be every second and fourth week of every month. Okay. Other than that, everything's the same. You guys still log into the portal, self-paced, attend the Zooms, recorded, all the other content, everything's changed. It's just, instead of 4 weeks out of the month, it's only going to be 2. Okay. So, this is what I want to say. Joshua, I didn't realize it. You were a franchisee in Liberty Tax?
Yes, sir. In Arbondale, Florida. I started when I was 22.
You was in Florida? Let's see. What was you at? Okeechobee?
No, near Lakeland area, Arbondale, Florida.
Oh, Arbondale, Florida. Okay, so yeah, I was I worked at the headquarters over Liberty.
Oh, nice.
In Virginia Beach, 1716.
Yep, I visited. Do you know Jeff Jones?
Of course I know Jeff. Are you serious?
Yeah, that's the one that hooked me up, man. I told him my story, and
I know.
To God be all the glory. He gave me the opportunity.
I know John Hewitt. So
yep.
Before he got ousted by his board members, but I know
that was crazy.
Yeah.